it can't be called Runaway because I didn't run away. Um, I left, but I don't tell that part of the story just because there's a zero chance that if a young person listens to me and follows my example on that, that they'll be okay. But I knew I would be, but I was a little off. Like I knew Jesus left home at 13, so I didn't feel like I was out of pocket in any way.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that at 13 years old you was cognizant of the story of Jesus leaving home at 13 years old?
I had been accepted to college before I was 12, so I was already a little bit more advanced than um, your average child. I had probably read 10,000 books at that period in my life. So I was blessed in that way. But as you know, you can't really just live on that. So God navigated where I was able to see the um, underworld, if you will. So I go from my parents' house in Ohio to Miami, Florida by myself. I don't know nobody. And that's where the story begins. But
In your formidable years, who is that person? Was there a single individual who inspired you, or some guy or a person that you looked up to and you said, I like the way that they move and I want to model myself after that person?
yeah, this is going to be a weird answer. Yes, that's
That
one
was
of
a
the
good
things that I
question,
was
Willie D.
probably the best at. I did it with anybody and everybody. So when I was going to the library, I wasn't reading fiction books. I was reading nonfiction books, and it didn't matter what it was. I know whatever's in this book. I don't know what it is. So I might have read like 1,000 autobiographies, just the life of people that I don't know. And when you do that, you find out that if you were trying to learn something from everybody, you could actually learn something from every single person
Mm.
that you met. And so it's that type of um, thinking that helped me avoid the pitfalls as I saw them. So the reason I never did drugs when I was an adult is because when I left and went to Miami and I'm living in a park, it's 30 people out there from all different places and they all are homeless and in a terrible situation just like me, and they telling me that they used to be lawyers and doctors and nurses, and I'm going, well what happened? And all of them is telling this story where everything in their life was fine and then they dealt with this drug and this is where it ended them out. So as a kid, I never saw the fun part of drugs. I never heard about nobody having a good time on drugs or, oh, you got to take this so you can feel it. I didn't see it from that way. I had already seen what it would do to people, and they're telling me, like, I'm letting people tell me, hey, don't do this. Don't get to Hollywood and start sleeping with white women and doing cocaine because it'll kill you. Oh, yeah, no problem. Got it. So, in a lot of things, I was just stupid enough to get the lessons, but that came from being willing to learn something from everyone.
Yeah.
He just dropped so many jewels. And you know what people gonna focus on? And I'm gonna break down the wisdom of what he said. I'm just about to break down the wisdom all the way. I'm gonna go to the Bible. I'm gonna go to a book. I'm about to break this wisdom down. I'm about to go to the qualifications, of a king, of kingship. I'm about to uh go in here. You know what people gonna focus on? Ain't no way he read 10,000 books as a kid. Ain't no way uh He did all this at 13. Now, just because you didn't do it, you couldn't do it, doesn't mean he can't do it. Okay. But with all the wisdom that you miss by focusing on foolishness. Now, what people who read do and can do and are capable of, this is why it's so important. He keeps going back to, I was reading X amount of X amount of X amount. I was reading. I was reading. I was reading, right? I uh in the beginning of this I talked about how I work for Ty Lopez, and I had been following him for a while, done some of his programs, and I got a chance to actually work for his company in sales. Now, he got famous. He shifted the whole paradigm of entrepreneurship on social media. He is literally the godfather, the goat. Okay, of social media marketing, ads, content marketing, online course. Just he had people reading, and he had a lot of men reading. That's not an easy thing to do. That's not easy, I'm telling you. Okay. And he talks about how you should take war with a multitude of counselors, right? He talks about some of the greatest minds are not alive. You will never be able to meet them, and you'll never be able to be mentored by them. He's big on mentorship. Men need mentorship. They need it by a multitude, not just their daddy. Their daddy may not be what? Just like him. He's a great man, but I had to go off. And guess what age he went off, right? Into the world. The age of initiation, right? In indigenous cultures. That's why I'm gonna break it down for y'all. I'm about to break it all the way down. I guarantee you're not gonna hear this perspective. I guarantee. I just guarantee you. Okay. He left the nest at 13. That was the age of initiation in indigenous cultures. That's the age that my grandpa left the nest, right? And started making money and started moving towards building and building wealth and eventually becoming an entrepreneur. We're in a different, we baby children. We got 35, 100-year-old children. Our generation has to fight childishness. We do. We have to fight it like the plague, okay? Because we will be full blown children until we're 100,000 years old. We don't know what it's like to grow up, a lot of us. But a part of that is a part of the corporation that wants to keep us in that childish mindset where we believe any and everything we hear. We don't extract wisdom, right? Even if you can say to somebody, oh, they're lying about this, da, 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 is there any wisdom in anything that he's saying? Is there any wisdom in anything that I'm listening to on this song? Is there any tidbits of something that I can learn, even from homeless people? Let's go to the Bible. Let go to the Bible. I'm the one. I'm not afraid of the Bible, but he gonna break down some stuff in the Bible, and then we gonna break that down too. Okay, this is great. This is Proverbs 29, because and I stumbled upon this because people be talking about the Proverbs 31 woman. I want me a Proverbs 31 woman, as if that Proverbs 31 woman was submissive and listen to everything her husband said. And I was like, oh, I wonder about the Proverbs 31 woman. Let me look it up. Independent, INDEPENDT. That's what the Proverbs 31 woman was. And I'm like, okay, well, dang, if the Proverbs 31 woman is so drastically, totally different than what society says she is, what are they going to talk about? What a good man is? Is there some kind of proverb, something or something, man? Proverbs 29, man. You could say 28 to 29. There's a reason why they don't talk about this. Okay, now this is Proverbs. Oh, let me see where I could share this with y'all. Let me go in here because I'm learning something new. I'm learning something new here. Okay, I'm learning some new things around here. Let's see. Boom. Boom. Proverbs 29, man. Okay. let's look into it. Let's get into it now. It says, "He that being often reproved hardened his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy." I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I know what this means. I have no idea. But the second line, it says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn." Okay, it says, "Whose loveth wisdom, whoso loveth wisdom." I swear if I had a list, I would never try to read the Bible. "Joyceth his father. But he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance." Okay. "The king by judgment established the land, but he that receiveth gifts overthroweth it." The way I perceive that is the king who becomes king based on the judgment of God, based on the judgment of the people, they establish the land. But when they start trying to do different things so they can get gifts and praise, that's when you're gonna get overthrown. Okay. Um, and let's go here. This is where I really wanted to touch on. "The righteous considereth the cause of the poor." This is wisdom. How often do you hear men talk about, I interviewed the poor. I was with the poor. I was homeless. You hear some of them say I was homeless, but do you hear them talk about I was homeless and I got guidance from the people so I could figure out how to not ever be homeless anymore, right? I tried to learn from any and everybody. "The righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it." The wicked, right, will talk crazy to the poor, will act, and this is what's interesting because a lot of hip hop, a lot of our culture is constantly shaming the poor, constantly shaming the poor, constantly shaming people who aren't even poor. But if you don't have the latest clothes on, you're going to be perceived as poor, and they're going to shame you. They're not going they're going to try to drag you. What are those? If you don't have the nicest shoes on, they go drag you. According to the Bible, that is wicked. That's wicked. We don't see that as wicked. We see that that's a part of our culture. That's Black culture. This man is breaking down how he is considering and he is talking to different people at 13 and 14 years old because he is being initiated by his ancestors. And that's what a lot of us are going to have to do. Some of us have had that experience, right? For one reason or another. And we're guided to initiation by a multitude of counselors. Okay, a multitude of different people who have the wisdom. Doesn't matter if they're homeless, if they're in an old folks' home. They could even be it could even be a child, right? It could be a prostitute. It could be a stripper. It could be anybody. Could have some wisdom to say, "This is my story. This is how I got here. This is why I'm here." Instead of just shaming people and not wanting to consider it, right? It says, "If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest." Right? If you sit up here with a foolish man, you're wasting your time. Right? So that's that. Now let's go into initiation because this is the part that I really liked about this right here. This is from let me switch this back up. One of my favorite books of all time, The Spirit of Intimacy. Ancient African teachings in the ways of relationships, all right? It says initiation, gaining knowledge. Gaining knowledge. The initiation process is all about gaining knowledge. And of course, the corporations have taken that time. And what are the children doing now? What are the teenagers doing now? Anyway, in our village, children learn about intimacy and ritual from birth onward. As they mature, it becomes crucial that they develop a profound understanding of these matters. At initiation, elders guide the young deeper into intimacy, sexuality, and ritual so that they know what is awaiting them. Now, he said it in a funny way. He said, avoid drugs and white women that have you running down the street like your boy. But they're breaking down just in general sexuality and the power of it. It says they do not just wander into the unknown territory of adulthood and get wounded, like he said. He said he was a little off, but really, he's really on point, right? He he had to wander into unknown territory because the adults, and he's not breaking it down, but the adults didn't want to afford him the type of information and the wisdom that he was so ferociously searching for, to the point where when they punished him they would take away books. Think about how silly that is. You're going to punish the child by taking away the knowledge. That's what they do in all of society a lot of times, right? Unintentionally, right? You're constantly trying to shield your children from information that could save their lives, and or you're not getting the information to have them to flourish in the way they need to flourish, or put them in the places to get the information, right? It said so he wandered off, but he was being guided by spirit. He's being guided by God, right? And God led him to where he needed to go. It says initiation for women takes place after the first menstrual period. It is performed once a year between December and February. If, for instance, you get your period in March, you will have to wait until the next initiation in order to go through initiation. For a man, initiation is done at puberty, which is around 12 and 13 years old. When he starts to show signs of wanting to be an adult, when the hormones start to kick in, when he starts getting fights with his daddy. During initiation, you learn about many things. Sex and intimacy are just part of the teachings. Even after initiation, there is a long period of mentoring. A long period of mentoring. If you think there is something you are not grasping, you can always turn to an elder. Intimacy is a sacred thing and should not be messed with. There is high danger in it. When you jump into it with your eyes closed, you can easily get hurt. And that's basically what they broke down to him. Now, he's saying it again in a controversial, funny way, but he has shown wisdom with all women. Okay. So, because you don't ever hear no drama. There is no real drama that can be proved about Katt Williams, especially with all the stuff that's coming out right now. There is no women, and he's known for being surrounded by women. There's no women coming forward saying anything happens, and I have a video and I have all this evidence. Okay, because he moved in a wise manner. That's why this mentoring is so important. It helps you avoid acting on illusory knowledge. In initiation, one important lesson is learning how to build an intimate connection with spirit. That's what he talked about, the self and others. For the Westerner, the question is usually, how do you build a relationship with yourself, with another, or with spirit for that matter? In my own case, I had to learn to let go of my defenses and any need to control. I had to trust spirit absolutely for guidance, but many things are easier said than done, especially when we are anxious. And that's what he said that on the club. Shay had a strong relationship with God. So that fear that he had, he knew because he had studied, he had read by autobiographies. When you start reading autobiographies, it gives you more courage because even if you fail, Malcolm X failed several times. If you read his autobiography, if you read Martin Luther King, fail. If you read any autobiography, if you read Oprah autobiography, Okay. It took her a long, hot minute. Okay. So, wisdom. Let's get back into it.